Matching application. This story is about 3 years ago, an event that traumatized me for the rest of my life. At the time, I was 24 years old and had never had a girlfriend, and I was so impatient that I decided to start using a matching app. Before I started, I thought that if I spent the money to start the app, I would be able to get a girlfriend in no time at all. However, the reality was not so sweet, and no matter how much I charged and how many women I sent likes to, I was never taken seriously. It had been almost a month since I started the app, but I had no matches, a dismal result. The amount of money I was charged was increasing, but my self-esteem was decreasing in inverse proportion to the increase. I was mentally exhausted after such a long day, and just as I was about to quit the application, a notification sounded in my room. Like a tiger that has found its prey, I reflexively got up and reached for my smartphone to check the notification. There it read. I found a match with Ms. OO. I still remember how I shouted out Yosha even though it was late at night when I saw the sentence I had been waiting for a month. I still remember how I shouted out Yosha. Then, I immediately looked at the photo of the woman I was matched with and raised my voice again. There was a very beautiful woman with long black hair in the picture, and she was completely my type, not only in face but also in clothes and atmosphere. She was 28 years old, an office worker, lived in the same neighborhood, liked the same bands and foods as me, and I had no doubt in my mind that she was the one for me. The only thing that bothered me a little about her profile was that she was a single mother. I was so excited at the time that I didn't care about such a trivial issue. However, I had never even spoken to a woman in real life, let alone sent her a message, so I had no idea how to start a conversation and spent more than an hour trying to figure out what to say in my message. Then, beep. I heard a sound that alerted me to a notification. The notification was the woman with whom I had just matched. I wondered if she was mad at me because I hadn't sent her a message in a long time. Thinking so, I fearfully opened the message. I opened the message and found a message that said, "Thank you for the match, my name is OO. We like the same band and the same food, so I thought I would send a message to you. I'm looking forward to talking with you." The message said, "Thank you very much." My heart was beating so hard I could hear it. With fingers trembling with happiness and agitation, I tapped on my smartphone and drafted the text of the message on my notepad application. "Thank you very much for matching me with your band. I'm so glad we like the same band. What songs do you like? You didn't write anything weird, did you?" I corrected my writing over and over again. I corrected my sentences over and over again. However, I had heard that women do not like men who are slow to respond on matching apps, so after about 30 minutes, I finally copy-pasted my text and sent it to the other woman. After about 30 minutes, I finally copy-pasted the text and sent it to the other woman. As we talked, I learned a few things about her. Let's assume her name is Ms. A. Ms. A had been receiving domestic violence from her former husband, and she divorced him because she thought that her children would eventually be harmed if she didn't do something about it. She came back to work at the same place where she had left her previous job and raised her child by herself. In the midst of this life, she wanted to find a partner with whom she could nurture her love as a couple once again, so she started using a matching app. When I heard the story up to that point, I was in tears. I'm the only one who can protect this parent and child. I'm going to provide for them both. I will take care of them. To do so, I first had to arrange a meeting, and while searching for an excuse to ask her out, I did my best to exchange casual messages, trying not to let her know about it. However, I do not know if Mr. A was aware of my intentions or not, but in the course of exchanging messages, Mr. A took the lead and we were able to smoothly set up a meeting and schedule. I was attracted to her because she was older than me and a parent, and I could feel her ability to take care of me from her messages. I became more and more attracted to her because of her open-mindedness that comes from her maturity. Every day after work, I opened a matching app on my smartphone and sent messages to each other, anxiously awaiting the day of our appointment. I would be happy or sad at a single message from Mr. A. I would flop my feet on the bed and raise my voice inaudibly. It was truly the happiest moment of my life. At that time, I had no idea that I would be traumatized for the rest of my life. Finally, the appointed day arrived. The meeting place was downtown and crowded, so I arrived at the meeting place 30 minutes early and let them know in advance the color and type of clothes I would be wearing on the day of the date so that they could easily find me. I was dressed in a high-end black hoodie and denim jeans that a fashionable friend of mine had arranged for me. I was nervous, but also filled with anticipation, as I was going on my first date in my life and was about to meet a woman I had only known through a screen. Then, from behind me, "Excuse me, are you Mr.?" I heard a clear female voice from behind me. I turned around, feeling my heart pounding, and saw standing there was undoubtedly Ms. A, a very beautiful woman in a flower-patterned one-piece dress with long, silky black hair. Seeing Ms. A, who was even more beautiful than in the picture, I blushed and was at a loss for words, which is a shameful thing to say. Seeing me like that, Ms. A smiled at me. Seeing her smile, I could no longer hide my agitation, and as I was trying to squeeze out my voice, Ms. A said, "Excuse me, my mother is going to the bathroom right now. I think she will be back in a little while." I was so embarrassed that I could not speak. "I think she will be back in a little while." When I heard that, I said, "What? You're bringing your parents?" I muttered to myself. Well, but she's such a beautiful girl, of course her mother would be worried about her. And I understood. Not long after that, he said to me, "Oh, mother. This way, this way." A-san looked behind me and waved her hands in the air. When I looked back at her with expectation, I could hardly believe my eyes. She had shaggy blonde hair like a mountain crone. Was at least 6 feet tall. Had an obese figure covered in flab like a witch in the wasteland. Had a grinning mouth with most of her teeth falling out, and she had a face that looked as if it had been made by a woman who had been in the same room with her mother. "I'm sorry to keep you waiting. The toilets are a little crowded." Gah ha ha. A woman with a bold laugh and a voice mixed with a squeaky voice and an appearance not unlike that of Mr. A's immediate family was standing there. I was not using a metaphor at the time, but literally opened the door. At that moment, I was literally, not even figuratively, in a state of shock. What kind of parent and child could look so dissimilar? Or perhaps she used to be beautiful. Or perhaps she was a stepmother and not related to me in blood? As my brain raced through various speculations such as no, maybe she used to be beautiful. Maybe she was a stepmother in the first place and not related to me by blood, etc., without allowing any respite, Ms. A's mother uttered a shocking statement in a voice that sounded like a lullaby. "Nice to meet you, I'm A." What? At that moment, for the first time, my voice came out. "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I could not understand the situation at all. No, I didn't want to understand. The mother asked in a hushed voice, "Oh, your daughter. Isn't that Ms. A?" The mother asked in a slurred voice, trying to squeeze out a few words. The mother replied, "Gah ha 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 ha. A is me, and this is my daughter, B. A is me, and this is my daughter, B." She slapped me on the back with a force that was unbelievable for a woman. What? What? I was puzzled, and my mother said to me, "If my profile picture showed an old lady like me, no one would take me seriously, right? If I had written my age as 55 from the beginning, no one would have taken a second look at me, so I filled in my daughter's age." She slapped me on the back. I glanced at Ms. B with tears in my eyes as if asking for help. "I'm sorry, I really wanted your mother to find someone good," she apologized apologetically. I felt the view in front of me distorted. The person I had been communicating with was actually this mother, and the person I had assumed to be Mr. A was not Mr. A. Then, the fact that your ex-husband was a domestic violence victim, and that you raised your child while working. When I asked her with a trembling mouth, she said it's true, she is a really kind mother who raised me while working and taking care of me after the divorce. When I remained silent after hearing this, Ms. B continued. Also, your mother seems to be really happy when she messages you with a guy who has exactly the same interests as hers, and I hope that this time things will work out. So, will you at least go on a date with your mother for one day? She pleaded with a face like she was about to cry. I am not good at saying no, so I couldn't say no. Yes. And I accepted the offer of a date on the spot. Then, Biko's expression brightened and she said, "Thank you. Thank you so much." She shook my hand. At that moment, I could see my face becoming slack, and scowling. I had an appointment with my boyfriend, so I'll leave the rest to the two young ladies. She smiled mischievously at me and left happily toward the station. Boyfriend? I was disappointed to see her mother, or Ms. A. Let's go then, hey, she said. And pulled my hand with great force. I decided to just have dinner with her and then go home with a good reason. I did as Ms. A asked and started walking with her hand in mine. My favorite food with Mr. A is miso katsu, and we had made reservations at a restaurant with a reputation for delicious miso katsu, so we headed to the restaurant together. A middle-aged woman, one size larger than me, clinging to the arm of a petite young man as she walks is exactly like a fawn caught by a gorilla. It was inevitable that people on the street would look at us strangely. I want to go home now. We thought to ourselves as we walked toward the restaurant we had made reservations at. When we arrived at the restaurant, we told the waiter our names and the number of people in our party, and were shown to our seats in the private room we had reserved. Mr. A sat down in his seat with a thump, saying, "Fu, yako yoshoiki." Mr. A sat down in his seat with a thump, saying, "Fu, yako yoshoiki." The chair made a mish sound as if it was asking for help for its suffering. Wiping his face with a hand towel, he asked me, "What shall we eat?" I looked at the menu at random and asked her what she wanted to eat. "Then I'll have the fin tonkatsu." And decided to order the first menu item I saw. "Then I'll have the loin tonkatsu." I said, "Then I'll have the loin tonkatsu." And he banged on the table. I shook my shoulders and wondered why I had to eat with such a heartbreaking person. I was in the worst mood, even though I was at a restaurant serving my favorite dish, miso katsu, and while waiting for the food to arrive, she kept on and on about a member of a male idol group that she was not particularly interested in, and my facial muscles began to ache with affectionate smiles. I managed to keep my mentality up by telling myself, but I'm sure she's not a bad person, she was such an inclusive and kind woman in her message. However, after the food was brought to the table, Ms. A's tyranny only grew more vicious. First of all, she was a kuchukura, a Japanese word meaning to make a crunching sound, when she ate her food. Moreover, since she was talking with food in her mouth, I could see the soggy miso katsu in her mouth, and scraps of food and spit were spilling out of her mouth. At this point, no matter how beautiful the other person was, even 100 years of love would cool off in an instant, but that wasn't enough. He was so loud that the other guests could hear him laughing. He also had the bad manners to put the tissue he had blown his nose on into the bowl of miso soup that still had some left in it. I was at my limit when I saw her nose hairs and snot mixed with green snot slowly seeping into the miso soup. Until then, I had tried my best to see Ms. A as a woman, but I had completely lost my physiological ability to see her as a woman. I wanted to go home as soon as possible, so I called the waiter and tried to pay the table bill for the two of us. "Oh, my. You're so young, why are you trying to be so cheeky and offer to buy me a drink? Why don't you just take advantage of me?" I was about to take out my credit card. I was so happy that I had a good time with her. No, I had a good time. Besides, it is bad manners to make a woman serve you, even if she is older than you, so please let me serve you. I rejected Mr. A's offer, saying no, I had a good time with you. Looking back, this choice was a big mistake. After paying the bill, we left the restaurant and headed in the direction of the station. I don't know if it was due to age or a feeling of fullness, but Ms. A was walking clinging to my arm as she we gasped out of her mouth. I was walking with that thought in my mind. Hey, hooey, somewhere a little beady was a green woman at the time and said, I'm not sure. I was green at the time and did not understand the true meaning of the word rest when the woman said it. I was tired of walking, so I thought it meant something like, let's go somewhere and have a cup of tea. I took it to mean something like I'm tired from walking, so let's go somewhere and have a cup of tea. Thinking that it would be okay, I accepted Mr. A's suggestion and headed for the place, with Mr. A taking me by the hand, saying, I know a nice place. However, I did not arrive at the store even though I went on, and on the contrary, I was led to an unpopular alley and I felt uneasy. Ms. A replied, we're already right in front of you, see the building with the shiny sign? He pointed to a desolate building with a shiny colorful sign. At the moment I saw it, even though I was ignorant of the area, I was able to guess what Mr. A was trying to do. The building was a hotel. I understood the situation I was in and immediately felt in danger and tried to leave, saying, I'm sorry, I just remembered something I had to do. But Mr. A held my arm tight with incredible force and, I won't let you get away, okay? I realized that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't beat him with my strength, so I stopped resisting. I was taken into a hotel room and found myself sitting next to Mr. A on the bed. He rubbed my hand and leaned into my shoulder. We're finally alone, he said with a sickening smile. What to do, what to do, what to do? My mind was occupied with how to get out of this predicament. As if to push me into a corner, Ms. A rubbed my hand and said to me, it's been a long time since you treated me like a woman when you paid the bill earlier. I was so happy that she treated me like a woman when she paid the bill earlier. I hadn't felt that thrilled in a really long time. Oh shit. I realized the mistake I had made here. I had a good time. Besides, it's bad manners to let a woman serve you, even if she's older than you, so let me serve you. I remembered what I said when I paid the bill. If I hadn't said those things, Ms. A wouldn't have liked me so much. However, no matter how much I expressed regret, it was already too late. Hey, will you go out with me? Ms. A suddenly confessed. I was mumbling, not knowing how to respond. I'm not going to let you have sex with me until you say you want to go out with me. You can't have a woman with that kind of attitude. What are you going to do? He gave me the ultimate choice between two options. Of course my answer was no, but I couldn't say it out loud because I felt that if I said it to her face to face, I would get some kind of horrible reaction. But even if I answered yes, I would have to have physical contact with this huge man, Mr. A. No matter which path I choose, hell awaits me. At the last minute, the answer I came up with was silence. I tried to break through this situation by keeping silent until Mr. A gave up. I asked him, hey, are you going out with me or not? Are you going out with me or not? Which is it? Mr. A kept rushing me to answer. I remained silent, but suddenly Ms. A threw his smartphone against the wall with all his might and said, wow. Go out with me. Go out with me. Go out with me. She was red in the face, crying out. And lying on the floor like a spoiled child, his arms and legs flailing about like a wild child. The sheer force and intensity of the situation frightened me so much that I said, okay, I'll go out with you. I'll go with you. I'll go out with you, so please stop it. I shouted. Then Mr. A stopped moving and got up then, Kun is your boyfriend from now on, take good care of him, he said and hugged me tightly. The way he went wild was not normal. The way she was acting was out of the ordinary. I decided to be gentle with her so as not to offend her and run away whenever I had the chance. I sat down next to Mr. A again. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Mr. A is starting to boil. If this continues, it is only a matter of time before I fall prey. I have to run away, I have to run away. What should I do? With my brain blistered with sweat, I desperately thought of a way to escape from this place. And after much thought and deliberation, I came up with a simple solution: I'll run away while Mr. A is taking a shower. There was no time to hesitate any longer. I held down my racing heart and pretended to be calm. Why don't you go take a shower before you do that? I suggested to Mr. A that he take a shower. At his suggestion, Ms. A said, I'm sure we've walked a lot and sweated a lot, so let's go in together. I was so impatient that I felt like my guts were going to come out of my mouth. For a moment, I was so impatient that my guts almost came out of my mouth, but I quickly said, no, I want to go in separately. I want to see Mr. A naked after I take a shower. I want to look forward to seeing Mr. A naked after I take a shower. Hearing that, Ms. A said, that's so cute. You were thinking about that? I'll go in first then. And in a good mood, she began to take out a towel and bathrobe from the closet, humming in high spirits. Then, grinning, he said, I'm going to make it an awesome night, okay? You better brace yourself, guffaw. And walked into the bathroom. It's not safe for me to stay here. I hurriedly gathered up my belongings when I heard the water running in the shower, put a 10,000 yen bill on the table to pay for the hotel just in case, and made my escape. I walked to the doorway of my room, trying not to make the floor creak, since it was an old and dilapidated hotel. I put my hand on the doorknob and gently tried to open the door, when a loud noise echoed through the room, much louder than I had expected. I thought to myself, oh no, I've definitely been exposed. Without putting on my shoes, I dashed down the hallway to the elevator. I was on the 7th floor, but the elevator stopped at the 1st floor, probably because people were getting in and out of the elevator. Damn it. Damn. Shit. Why the hell am I on the 1st floor of all floors? As I was impatiently clicking and clicking the elevator buttons, I heard a bang from behind me. I was impatiently clicking and clicking the elevator buttons, and at the same time, I heard the sound of whoa. Why the hell did you do that? I heard the tremendous shouts of Tomo and the sound of footsteps coming toward me with a thud. Oh no, here they come. Thinking that if I waited for the elevator, I would surely be caught, I hurriedly opened the door leading to the outdoor fire escape and ran down the stairs. Then, about 5 seconds later, I heard a bang. I heard the door open violently, and I heard wee. Hoo-hoo. And the sound of heavy footsteps came from above. I looked up through the gap in the fire escape and caught a glimpse of skin color bobbing disheveledly in my field of vision. It seemed that she was following me, completely naked. I was paralyzed by fear, or perhaps my senses were numbed by fear, but I was beginning to enjoy the situation and a funny smile broke out on my face. I thought to myself, oh my god, if I get caught, this will really be the end of my life. What's that? Aren't your feet faster than I thought? What shall we have for dinner tonight? I ran down the stairs with my legs tangled, thinking about something incomprehensible like, what shall I have for dinner tonight? I shouted back, oh, yes, thank you very much. I shouted back, oh, yes, thank you very much. What? Sir. And a yell like, oh, my god. I ignored it and picked up a cab and was heading to the nearest station when I passed about 3 police cars, but I'm not sure what they were. This is the end of this story. Thank you for listening to the end.